In this video, we'll learn how to find equivalent fractions, decimals, and percents by using a triangle. When you have the triangle set up, it doesn't matter which vertex is the fraction, which vertex is the decimal, and which vertex is the percent, as long as you set it up so that moving in the proper direction has the correct operations. So if we move from a fraction to a decimal, you want to use the ice cream method, which my students are familiar with the ice cream method, that it means that you divide. If you have 1/2, this is the same as 1 divided by 2. If you have ice cream method, you have the ice cream on top and the cone on the bottom, and I've explained to my students that when you set up long division, inside the division box is the freezer, which is where the ice cream or the numerator goes, and outside to the left is where you place the denominator, or what you are dividing by, which is the cone. And so once you finish dividing that, such as 1 divided by 2, you have a decimal of 0.5 or 5/10. When you move from a decimal to a fraction, we do what is called a rewrite. And basically, if you have decimal 5 or 5/10, when you rewrite that as a fraction, 5/10 as a fraction is 5 over 10, and then we must simplify. You divide top and bottom by 5 each. 5 divided by 5 is 1, 10 divided by 5 is 2, and that gives you 1/2. So the decimal 5/10 is equivalent to the fraction 1/2. When you move from a percent to a fraction, you take the quantity of your percent and put it over 100, then simplify. If you have 50%, your quantity is 50, and it will go over 100. If you divide the top and bottom by the same number, which it's divisible by 50, 50 over 100, you end up with 1/2. So 50% equals 1/2. When you move from a fraction to a percent, you set up a proportion. If you have 1/2 and you want to set it equal to a percent, then you have 1/2 equals a percent over 100. And if you go from 1/2 to the percent over 100, 2 to 100, you get that by multiplying 2 by 50. And then what you do to the bottom, you do to the top, and you multiply 1 times 50, which gives you 50%. We call this hamburger because after you move from the left to the right, or the right to the left, it looks like a hamburger bun on top and bottom. So ask your student to set that up, 1/2 equals percent over 100, and see what that looks like. If you have a decimal and you're trying to find the percent, you move from the decimal to the percent by multiplying your decimal times 100. When you do this, your decimal moves to the right 2 times. If you look here from decimal to percent, those initials are D to P. And that's the same as Dr. Pepper. We use Dr. Pepper because the way you read it is the direction that you move. So if you have 5/10 as your decimal, 0.5, you would move it from the left to the right 2 times, and you would end up with 50%. So 5/10 is equivalent to 50%. When moving from a percent to a decimal, we still have Dr. Pepper, but because we are dividing by 100, we'll move from a percent to a decimal, which means we will move our decimal from the right to the left. So 50%, you would move your decimal 2 places to the left, and that would leave you with 0.5 or 5/10. I have also included the PowerPoint with this video, so please look at the presentation notes if you have any further questions about what I discussed in this video.